Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here, and today we are reviewing the last movie in the Star Wars Skywalker saga. We have finally reached the end of the Skywalker saga as we review Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So, um, first things first, as always, I am not professional, not professional movie reviewer at all, not professional movie analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time. And I'll be honest, I had a surprisingly good time with this movie for the most part. Judging by what everyone said about which this is my first time seeing this movie, of course, but judging by not only what everyone was saying about it, but also the critic score, and also one of the things that I thought was kind of weird that they did in the movie, just looking at kind of the premise of it and everything, I thought I would hate this movie a lot more. I thought surely this can't be worse than episode. Sorry, surely this has to be worse than episode 8, but it wasn't. Honestly, this might have been, would I call this the best in the sequel trilogy? That's very debatable. Well, I don't know if I would call it the best, but yeah, I actually ended up kind of liking this movie for the most part. I feel like I feel like I can kind of get some of the reasons why some people probably didn't like this movie, but me personally, I had a pretty decent time with it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, for those of you who've seen my reviews before, you kind of already know how this works. For those of you who haven't, pretty much I'm going to be talking about what I liked about the movie, what I didn't like about the movie, and maybe this is why I enjoyed the movie, but I am not a hard man to please. Just give me a good time, even if it's a bad time, because sometimes a bad time or like a bad movie can turn into a good time because you're just sitting there or laughing the entire time. But this movie definitely wasn't one of those movies. Do I think it's the best Star Wars movie ever? Definitely not. But it was better than I thought it would be. So, getting into what I liked, we finally see the culmination of a lot of what they were building up throughout the sequels. Rey and Kylo Ren's relationship, which I forgot to mention last movie, something it introduced, and it's more potent here, is that apparently Rey and Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, I'm probably gonna interchange between the two. They're able to communicate and pretty much like be with each other, or throughout using the Force and everything. Of course, the Force is very mysterious and everything like that, so they're able to teleport or to where each other are, see where each other are, and they're able to actually grab stuff from where the other person is. And it was pulled off kind of weird in the previous movie. But I think they were able to explore it a little bit more in this movie. We see Poe and Finn become co-generals after General Organa passes. After I believe it was implied that Rey accidentally killed her when she stabbed Kylo Ren as they were battling. We see Lando return. We see the First Order finally fall. We see the death of the Sith, definitively. Ben Solo's redemption. We see Rey pretty much rise up to the occasion and defend the Jedi and everything. We see her get Leia's lightsaber, which forgive it might have been a blur from like the OG trilogy, but Leia had a lightsaber, or I don't remember her having one. She probably did, and I probably just forgot. But yeah, so Leia had a lightsaber, and Rey brought both of them to the battle against the main villain of this movie, which we'll get to, because it's one of the reasons why I thought I wouldn't like this movie, but. She brought both lightsabers, and she actually ended up giving one to Kylo for him to fight off the First Order, or as it would be turned into, the Final Order. We see the fall of the First Order and the Final Order. We see that the Resistance finally gets some help from some friends, and a couple of them return from like the original Star Wars trilogy. And we see Rey get some help from the Jedi and everything. And at the end, everybody celebrates. Rey buries both the lightsabers of both Luke and Leia, uh, pretty much starting anew in terms of Star Wars as the Skywalker saga wraps up. In my opinion, perfect way to end off the saga, with burying the old in the sand and starting anew. Now one reason why I say I can get why people didn't like this movie. I feel like having the bold choice to bury the lightsabers of both Luke and Leia, kind of could be seen as like turning off the old fans. Like, oh, you remember the lightsabers that belong to these old characters? Oh, now they're not being used anymore. Now we're going in a different direction. Screw you guys. And I don't think that was their intentions in the movie. When Rey buried the lightsabers, I think it was more so like Luke and Leia, and honestly the Skywalker name, which included Anakin and Padme, all came to a close after the fall of the Sith, the ultimate definitive fall of the Sith, and the First Order and everything. Oh, um, so I think it's definitively saying this is done. Now we're going to start anew in Star Wars canon and everything. Although they're not quite finished, it does look like, with some of the Skywalker name, because we got the Obi-Wan TV show happening, and Rogue One was a thing. Although I think Rogue One came out before this movie, but yeah. So I think by that the movie's trying to say like it's done for now with the Skywalkers, and we're moving forward with it. Even though Rey kind of takes the Skywalker name. When the lady on Tatooine asks who she is, she says Rey Skywalker. Oh, um, yeah. I get what they were trying to do, but I can see that it may turn off some fans, and because and you gotta be careful, I think, with stuff like that in the message it's trying to send, because that can be misconstrued. For example, an example I give. Down in NXT, Braun Breaker, one of the things he does is he has like a foam X logo for like NXT and everything, and he kicks it. And right after NXT 2.0 began, he kicked like the gold X, and some people found it offensive, like oh, they're ditching the black and gold, oh, they're disrespecting the black and gold, which I don't think was his intention, and then he did it at later shows, so it's just something he does. But that type of stuff can send the wrong message, or maybe not even send the wrong message, but be interpreted the wrong way. So interpretation is something that you gotta be careful of, mainly because as oftentimes it is the fans of Star Wars that you do want to keep in mind. You want new fans, obviously, to be part of the Star Wars fandom and watch the movies and everything, but you also gotta keep the older fans in mind. Like I said, I don't think they meant to try to turn off the older fans, but that's kind of what it kind of could be interpreted that way. I kind of figured that's likely what they meant, and because I try to see like both sides of the paradigm, so I can kind of see what they meant. But like I said, things wrapped up nicely. General Organa passes and pretty much goes on to be with Ben Solo. And Ben has a heart to heart with his father Han. Pretty much like Kylo's dead and everything. My son is alive. So that redemption. So things wrap up for the most part here in here with episode 9, and one of the young girls was that helped out the resistance and as they were finding the villain, which we'll get to, is now going to be hanging out with Lando as they find her origins because she's a former stormtrooper as well. Oh, as for one of the things I didn't like, some of the things I didn't like, I should say, it's finally time to talk about the elephant in the room. They brought back the man I've been alluding to up until this point for this review, Emperor Palpatine. The reason, now I thought I would hate this a lot more because, as at first glance, it would seem as though with Emperor Palpatine still being alive, somehow surviving, being thrown down the shaft by Vader, it almost at first seemed like it was pretty much undoing Darth Vader's sacrifice. Now, because Palpatine's still alive, it kind of seems like Vader's sacrifice was all for nothing, essentially. But if you think about it, Vader still redeemed himself by killing, or at least he thought he killed the Sith Lord, and returned to the side of good and died pretty much in the good graces of the Jedi, which is why he went on to be with the Force and everything. But them bringing back Palpatine, I think, was a bit out of left field, and it was like, hey, what was the point then of that whole sacrifice? Which I kind of just explained, but like, what was the point of that sacrifice then? And Palpatine's alive, so essentially, what, it was all for nothing? And he had to be brought back as like the main villain, but also, if you think about it, a lot of the Sith ties back to him because he killed his master, Darth Plagueis the Wise. And yes, Palpatine, we've heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise, but he killed his master and everything. So now he's like the main man in control of the Sith, and it's revealed in the movie that he's been pulling the strings and everything for the Sith, and so for the Sith to truly die, it would have to die with him. So I get what they tried to do here, but I feel like it came across this kind of weird way. But it was an interesting twist for Rey to be a Palpatine, but her having Palpatine blood in her now adds a new layer of internal conflict with her, and she realized that killing Palpatine will just make Palpatine go with her, because if they're struck down in anger, they'll be with them, which is how Obi-Wan ended up with Vader, and how Luke ended up with Ben, aka Kylo Ren. So Rey didn't necessarily want to kill Palpatine, but Rey still had it in her and tried to fight off the dark influences, and that took up a good part of the movie. I get that. I get the whole internal struggle and everything, and I get that she's fighting off that darkness within her, but it almost kind of betrays her character a little bit, her being more aggressive and everything, and I can kind of see what they're going for, her possibly turning to the dark side by trying to avoid the dark side, which is kind of what happened to Anakin, but it does come across as a little bit weird. I also don't like how they did Poe in this movie. He's like way more of an obnoxious jerk. Like he was like a bit more like lovable and everything in episode 7, where he had very little involvement. But it seemed like the more they featured him, the more you're like, why is this guy part of the Resistance again? Why is this guy in a position of power in the Resistance? And it's supposed to be him being like a hotshot and reckless, and him not doing that anymore. But at the same time, it's kind of like, man, I really can't stand you sometimes. I don't know if any of this is making sense to you guys, or if I'm just rambling here. Let me know if it is. But so I think I'll leave it at that for this review. Like I said, I liked this movie more than I thought I would. Like I said, not the best Star Wars movie. I wouldn't call it the best, but I definitely liked it a lot more than I thought it would. And I want to see where Star Wars goes from here. At the time of this recording, they just released a new series, Star Wars Endor. So I gotta catch up on the Star Wars TV shows as well. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff I gotta catch up on Disney Plus. I haven't even caught up on all the Marvel shows that was on Disney Plus. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Uh, Retrospective is probably going to come some point in October. It's probably going to be one of the only non Halloween related things that I do for that month, but I do want to have it out for you guys. And I think this possibly might put some wrench into my retrospective because I kind of already had in my mind how the retrospective was going to go, but actually seeing this movie kind of changes things. And I think this is why. I think this ultimately proves one of the things I've said, which I ironically almost didn't follow, is that see stuff for yourself because there's a chance you may like it more than you thought, or you may dislike it more than you thought. Always see stuff for yourself, and this movie I saw for myself, and I ended up liking it a lot more. So, oh, I really should have taken my own advice on that. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do me a favor, like the video, comment below, not just on my review, but if you've seen Star Wars Episode 9, what's your thoughts on it? And as we wrap up the Skywalker saga, retrospective is coming at some point in the month. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow my other social media links. We have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a Twitter. If you haven't already, go follow those. I have a link tree in the description. If I don't, then I will add it. Turn on bell notifications so you're notified every time I upload a video, so you can see it as soon as it drops. And share it with your friends. And I will see you guys later. Peace.